So the fear-inducing hand, nothing scares students of drawing and painting like the hand and the foot. So just like the foot, if we can think of the hand as simple areas of volumetric form and wedging, we're going to be much better off drawing these complexities when we get to all the detail. It's not as bad as you think. The hand is really made up of an egg kind of form from the palm area, and then you can turn that into a block, and then all of the fingers from the metacarpals to the proximal, medial, and distal bones of the fingers can really be thought of as cylinders and or blocks, depending upon your viewpoint and your conception of the hand, or whatever you like to use. Most of all, we'll use a couple of those. So take heart. It's really not as bad as you think, and we're going to draw and use the hand in this lesson as more of a wedge or wedge kind of idea. So let's start that. Let's pick up some drawing tools and let's make that happen for ourselves. And so I'm going to use the skeleton as our our hand position here, and I'll try to arrange it in a way where you can see exactly how I'm drawing and thinking about it. We're always, when we draw the hand, just like the head, we include the neck, we're going to include a little bit of the wrist too as well. So the hand is made up into what I call the wrist, obviously, which is more square, the front palm, side, and back of the palm area, which from different views can look more like an egg form or again more like a blocky form. And then of course the fingers, and it's as if we just slice the fingers off and then place each one of them. Notice that there's space between. We don't want webbing unless of course you're a duck or an Aquaman or woman or person. And there's no webbing, there's some space in between that. And then the fingers are directional rectangles or cylinders in different conceived positions. Okay, so that's how I generally like to have my students think about it, and of course other instructors, professors can do as they certainly will please. All right, so the first thing is always we want to think about gesture now of the hand. So we're moving through. So I'm going to draw this viewpoint as we see it. Might see it probably just a little bit different because of my perspective, not a whole lot. So we're going to get the gesture of the elbow and arm in through here, and then we're going to start to feel that wrist coming through here like so, and then let's get the gesture of the hands. And so the best way is to think of the metacarpals here and the carpal as linear gestures or spines of the direction of our wedged hand. Of course, we have our opposable thumb over in through here, curving outward a little bit, and then a longer middle area through here, and slightly shorter coming back, slightly curved, and then ending up here now with more of the pinky kind of finger. So this is less so much an anatomy section here, this little lesson, as it is about just an introduction to the wedging part of it, which will help with your anatomy. So I'm putting it in the anatomy section. All right, so we've got now this wrist area down in through here with the ulna and the radius and these carpal bones. There's 8 of them, and we'll go into those in detail when we talk about the bones. So I think of all this area now as more like a block wedge here. Keep it simple. That's the biggest thing. This is the biggest idea of the ulna styloid process in through here. But here's the big plane break right in through here with the wrist and then of course the forearm wedge in through here. So look how that really breaks through there using 2 different kinds of conte today. And so we'll put this in a little shadow here. But this whole idea of turning square, right, and then changing direction, it's a box-like form, yes, but it has a kind of a roundness to it here. Okay, we've talked about these muscles coming through the pollicis muscles before with the forearm. If you haven't seen that, you can see that at some point in time. This is kind of a curve in through here. And then we'll include kind of in this whole area really the carpal bones in through here, kind of a rounded part. You could include them up and through here if you want. I just kind of separate them here just for attention's sake in through here. So we have now this coming down, this wedging, and really it's about right here with the forearm, isn't it, that this becomes more of a ball or an egg form when we start with the radialis and the ulnaris and our extensors in this view, the extensor digitorum and all this good stuff that you may or may not know about. So that becomes a little bit more of a ball, doesn't it, right in through here. So we have that. So essentially what this lesson is a volumetric figure, but of just the hands, which is important. And of course the feet, we saw that the same way. Now, what we want to do is simplify all this. So what I show my students is that really from the metacarpal area, right in through here, right in through here, and through here, all of this from these, what do we call the knuckles, where the condyles come together from the proximal condyles to the metacarpals. All four of these here can be seen, this whole form can be seen as one. That's why I like to tell my students is see that as one in through here. So the angle, the direction of this, the rhythm is totally downward, isn't it? So it's right in through there. We're coming over, okay, right in through here. Now this can be seen as round too, or it can be seen as a block. Either way is fine to me, and you'll see it differently in different viewpoints, right in through here. So first we'll see it rounded. Now in this view here, there's muscle that's, the abductors are going to attach and pollicis muscles are going to attach here. So this makes this meatier, especially in my hands. My hands are short, stocky, chubby, strong, I suppose, hands. And so this is very meaty in here. This is like another egg forming through here. So coming down, we can feel from the metatarsal to the other, to the thumb, great metatarsal here, that in through here, right, curving over, but this whole area is a little bit more rounded right in through here. So we have this region and this region. Now, what I would do, what I would suggest is now starting to make this a blockier form. Here, watch this. So from here over, make sure we have two distinct little forms here, so it's a gap in between. So we make this here, okay, just like we did here. So it's kind of rectangular. So we have that idea right in through there. So now we have a good palm going, and what we can get over here now, this connection here, we can start with this thumb metatarsal here coming out and over. Let's think of them as boxes. So their direction really is this way, and we see now the top of this box here ending where the condyle is. Watch this if you're confused. Here, okay, here is the boxy, more boxy-like construction. Then we come down this direction of the condyle here and over and out, and of course now the attachment of this would come in through here, so we're kind of drawing a little bit of both at the same time. So we can see that and see how we start to already get a nice kind of wedging hand already from that. Now, as we go up, we'll continue with the thumb in a moment. Let's talk about the flow of these. So metacarpal, proximal, medial, distal, and out. I might have just enough room to get most of that in there. But what we can do is we can still see these gesture points of the hand also as tendons too as well, because we have the tendon that comes on top of those bones. So we have the middle, the index and the middle finger here, right? Notice that there's a little curve going through here and then up and over with the longest, so the gesture can become the tendon. The fourth finger here kind of curving back in as we see, even through here, and of course the pinky right through here. So that's also the gesture, but it can be your introduction into also the tendon as well. Now, let's finish these directions out. Now, you notice that the thumb, the opposable thumb, which can pronate just like that without moving, so I can really come all the way over to the pinky without the pinky moving too much right in through there, so we can pronate that supinate here. So we only have two bones there. We have the proximal and we have the distal. Keep that in mind. Just like what else? The toe, the big toe. So every time we have a new joint, we have a slightly new direction. We have to make sure we have that in our drawing. So what I'll show you here is just the condyles of the boxes coming together. We get their distance. This is turned over a little bit. So a little bit slightly more to the side like this, coming in through. And then you could take this box and curve it. You could have a curved box. See how I can do that? We can have that curved box with that thumb. And then the distal, or the top of the thumb where the nail would be, is even more on its side and more curved outward and away from the rest. So we have the gesture. I could change that. You can always change your gesture. Oh, it's a simple basic gesture to fit your needs when your gesture, that your first gesture needs adjusting. So this even more to the side, like so, and tends to end more of in a triangular joint like this. We won't see the top of it. It'll come down like this, and then over now, bulkier here, and then ending way over like so. And then we can put a little bit of tone on it, right, like so. Call it a day, and then we have now our volumetric thumb hand for our learning of the wedging of our hand. Okay, so we can make this a little bit more boxy now through here, coming out through here. So you can simplify this and really get technically bright at this pretty quickly. What's important, what are we looking at right now? The bones here, and we'll go through a full bone video in a little while. There'll be the next one after in this series as we base this off of. There are not that many muscles to really memorize here. So the next one we'll move up. Now this is probably going to get off the page. I'll do what I can here. Sorry about that. Here we go. So we'll take now our next series here, the proximal of the first index finger here. And we'll come out, get its length and over, so it's turning more to the side. About right in here as we make that plane break with our fingers. They're just rectangular tubes, folks. It's that simple. You can draw simple 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point boxes. You can draw from hands really nicely. Here's our plane break, coming back over. We could even get the curve if we want, and then attaching back over here to our simple palm. And I'll put the shadowing on this opposite side just to keep the tops lighter. How about that? Now as we come off a little bit, I'll only get the medial here. So box, side box, ending there, top, curving through here and over. See the nice direction change right from here, and then we come this way, and then we come that way a little bit, and then we go out of the picture. Sorry about that. Oh well, but I think you get the idea. I can't do it all for you, right? Okay, so we have this now. Now we have a nice split now between that condyle metacarpal joint, right, all the way coming down to the wrist, and that's enough just to catch that right in through there. Okay, we have space in between, right? So we have some space that we want to keep, and then we have the middle finger carpal area just to make it a little bit more boxy, and then here we are on to the races. And so we see this one ending here. So I'll try to find that ending, right? And then we'll start to find that flow in direction. So our boxes can be a little bit more lifelike and curved. It doesn't have to be a rigid box made out of steel or oak or wood. It can be flexible, curving. So now we have our joint here, moving up, getting a little bit narrower, maybe a little thicker here, narrower as we end here. And now we see the side of the box barely. Through here the condyle downward, and then over connecting to the larger one that will go behind our meatier palm. Meaty, right in through there, and then we'll throw a little tone on it. And how easy, I think, right, relatively easy is that. So we get that hollow in between here, hollow. Now in between here as we move forward in our hand study. Now let's put on the medial phalange here. it's coming in a little bit and curving this way. Okay, so it divots in a little bit. So we can take its connection, it's a slight change here, ending here and downward. It's just simple boxes in space. It's a basic drawing exercise that you're putting to use now in terms of anatomy. Once you start to figure out the volumetric figure drawing becomes, a new world opens up for you, but it takes a little while to get your head wrapped around three-dimensional drawing in a 2D plane. So the end of that condyle there, we could curve it in a little bit if we want, and then out just a little bit and connecting back up. Kind of like Lego toys, if you will, but more sophisticated. Okay? And I think I've got enough room to get the other finger. Now it's going to be foreshortened in my view. Coming back here, moving over this way. So we've got this box that does this here, but because of the condyle, it gets foreshortened. So I'm going to draw that like this, okay? And then curving so severely, it gets foreshortened here, curved over. There's the end of it there, over a little bit, and then curved underneath like that. And I'll put a little tone there, and then I missed that tone there with that one. There we go. And so we get that end of that finger. This can come back over and get that flow and direction. There we go. Now remember that tendons will be over here. You'll see that in art history. You'll see it in sculpture quite a bit as well. All right, so my basic gesture looks pretty good in through here. A little bit of a hollow. 2 more fingers to go for this one, for this wedging. In through there. So we'll come over here. We'll find 1, 2, 3, the third knuckle. 1, 2, divot and up and over. So we'll have that metacarpal block here, right? We have it there, and then we'll divot back in. That undercut shows that separation. Look how much there's separative nature of these bones are, which is really important. So we have that, and I can go ahead and get the last one, the pinky too, since we're coming over here a little bit, and then underneath and back over to the ulnar side and through here and down, and I'll make a big fuss over the styloid process here of the ulna, just to pop that out, which is really important to get right in through there. You know you're at the radius over here because we turn. You know you're at the ulna on the other side because of the styloid process. All right, so let's make the rest of this wedge hand go. So now a little bit shorter, I'll find the distance of the bone here, right there. Their condyle, here's the top. Okay, right in through here. Don't see a lot of side in my view. I'll show you what I see. It's close to yours. It might be a little bit different. But really, if you'll just draw from me and trust the view, you'll be better and you'll be able to do your own in no time. So a little bit of the side here and an outward. So a little bit less space and distance here, and it gets thinner as we go over. I'm going to go ahead and do the metacarpal here too as well. Now, because it's turned, it's starting to lay over a little bit further, and I'll show you what I mean here. Then I'll find its distance here. There's the proximal, the medial, and then the distal will be much, much smaller right in through there. So it's almost turned to its side. Here's what I mean by that. Here. Okay, and over, right in through there. Okay, and like so. So really turned over. We see a lot more of the underside in through here before. Okay, and I'll put this a little bit darker into here. Nice little cavity into here. Interosseous muscles and cartilage and ligaments are in through there, and then we have that, and then we come through the next here. So I'll just go ahead and finish this out a little bit more twisted to the end point here, curve over box there, and then we get our side box, a little bit of the side, more triangular, up and through like so. There we go. Just drawing triangular type boxes, and then we're now curving now back this way. We kind of see the under part of the box like this through here, and we're curving through like so, and then we get our top and really turned more to now the side and through there. So, and these will all come together, but each joint's going to change now the direction of the hand and the finger. And then the last one here we have, see how this is not very hard? The last one we have here, I don't think it is. It might be in the beginning. And so we have this direction that's moving back into the middle finger somewhat. So we'll have an ending here at the top here. Notice the change of direction here. Notice it's outward further, so we're coming through. Little change there for direction. Okay, right. And then over, under here. We'll curve it just a little bit to show off. Kind of a bone. It's like blocky bones in a way, right in through there. And then we'll come out of this now with a little bit different, wider bone here, top here, connected and underneath. So we see that thickness. This wants to come in and over, like so. Downward and over, and then there's our ending right through here, which ends like that, and actually gets a little bit wider, so we made that even more like a bone. And voila, there we go. So now we have the beginning of a wedge hand, our first one, in through there. Okay, so now let's do another one where it's a little bit more supinated, or actually underneath. And sorry about this top here. Almost had that. So let's get something now underneath here, coming at us a little bit further. We're at the right hand, of course, so we'll pull this here. You can see that, and we'll draw this a little bit. Should we draw it maybe supinated? Well, let's do something with the pose to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, we don't want to do anything dirty here. Okay. At least not on this channel. All right, so we'll do maybe this a little bit, almost like it's, let's see, maybe like it was holding something, maybe like this box, something like that, almost grasping, like in the process of, maybe like that, kind of grasping, like maybe like this a little bit. Let's see. So we'll leave it like that. How about that? Okay. And maybe we need something underneath it to make it show up a little bit clearer with the drawing underneath. Let's see if this little manila folder doesn't help that way. You can see it, I think, yeah, you can see it much better there. Okay, so we'll do that so you can see that. And let's draw now this hand in wedge hand here. So now again, we'll start probably when you do hand studies about here in terms of wrist, right before the flexors. These will be the flexors in through here mostly, and then the brachioradialis and then the extensor carpi radialis longus. Say that 10 times fast. Will be over and through here, but we'll cut it off about right in through here for now. So we'll start up here and we'll work this wedged hand. Okay. So including, make sure I get enough space, including here, okay, let me get this out of the way so I don't confuse everybody, false line here, right, so the gesture basically, this is just flow and gesture, coming down here, coming down through here like so, okay, and then this is kind of the drawing, visualizing not only the bone, but what I'm thinking about the muscles. It's going to be a little wider in through here. And then this wrist will end roughly in through here. This is going to block off. I'll get deeper into that in a moment. And this is going to be where our palm structure, these carpal bones in through here, roughly. You can see we'll group them all together. I'll separate them for names later. And then you'll forget about them. I can only name about 5 right now, and because they're not important. But I have to go back and look at my notes before I make the have to name them. And then you'll forget about them, and you'll just group them together, just like you did with the foot through here. So we have this kind of beginning of the palm now, these bones in through here as they come through. Okay, so now we're going to move this over just a little. get into more of the wedging and the gesture of all of this. So let's take on now the gesture of the thumb coming through from the carpals to the metacarpal here, what I see, and then the proximal and the, even more space, sorry about that, and the distal, going to be out through here. Longer is better. Bigger is better when you draw hands. We've talked about that in class. And then YouTube land, if you're having trouble with hand proportions or feet proportions, a size a little bit larger on a model is better than a size or two smaller. Your tendency will be to go smaller. Try to make them larger. So now we have curvature here of the first index finger in through here. And so one way I weigh these out is I look, you can even see the spring over here, metatarsal to metatarsal, their distance. And then I bring all that over as they kind of cascade around to the metatarsals in through here, and they'll kind of come up for us. So we'll have this, and we'll get this flow and direction. We'll see this like so, okay? We have that, and then we're gonna have the middle finger, which will even be more challenging in through here, like so, okay? Coming up and over through here, and really curved in through. Just the feel of it, flow of it. And then the fourth overlapping just a little bit and through, and then of course the pinky finger, which will be roughly right in through here, and I can adjust as I need later on to the metacarpal, over to the end of the metacarpal, and then over to the carpal bones, and then I've got roughly my structural hand gesture. It's a little bit different if in drawing a normal hand. I wouldn't draw the individual bones as much, even though I feel them as well. So now we're on the flexor side of it through here. We would have the pollicis muscles, the pollicis pair coming in through here to the thumb. So this would get extended. This will be kind of begin our wedging in through here. Of course, we have now, which side is the ulna on? We know that this is the thumb side, so this is the radius over here, and this is the ulna. Make sure that you can start to discern and figure that out. It's very important to get that under your belt very quick. So let's start to make a wedge now of our forearm coming down. I'm going to split this apart through here and bring this over like so, because those muscles come in. So this is kind of a boxier wedge in through here. Okay, we see that coming through, see that coming through, and then this is going to turn like this. Okay, so we're going to turn now, pick up smaller pencils. So this is going to start to turn here as a box, but then this box changes and droops over. So this is what we'll shade this side a little bit, make that easier to shade like that. The pollicis muscles will come in. They're kind of a plane in through here. We'll put two of them in through there. But again, the point of all this is to see this now as a box. See the box here, and then this is going to turn now. All this wrist, these where these tendons would be. The palmaris longus would be in through here. The flexor carpi radialis, carpi ulnaris. We would see those. And now as we come up here, the brachioradialis would be starting to be up in through here, right? And then we would see the ulnaris, the flexor carpi ulnaris in through here, like so. We get this is that classic egg form of the forearm, we'd see. So this is rounded. So this starts to change from a box here to a round point, round form in through there. Now, coming on down here, so let's take on the wedging of the wrist in through here. Okay, so we've got that pretty nicely set in this way, right here, coming around, boom, here, boom, down this way, and then this turns and over. All right, so now let's get the whole palm effect. So we're talking about metacarpal area right in through here, because what we're going to get now is we're going to get a split. Okay, we're looking at this split now, this big palm. Okay, we can start to see that a little bit in through here in the wedging part of it. Okay, we can see that as an egg form. And we can also see where underneath all this here, we get to see this area of the bigger wedge like we did over here. Okay, not from the thumb, but we'll start over now down to the metacarpal of, almost said metatarsal, that's the foot, metacarpal here of the of the middle finger here. And I'm going to show you something, because we have to think about the fingers being cut off in a moment, or really now when we draw the palm a little bit. Here's what I mean by this. So all this line is telling me is this is a good place to think of it as a block. But we have this block over here, okay? And we have this coming down. Okay, and we're going to take all this out, like so, where the fingers would come out after when we start the proximal, like this. Okay, like cylinders or blocks, however you want to draw them later on. We're going to see that there, space, right middle finger will come out like that. We got to leave that space in between that little cut off of the block. So we have that. So see, we can see where we have this palm now. I'm going to make this a little meatier, meat-like, more fully. That's what I meant to say. Through here. And through here. And then we get over now to the ulna side, come up a little bit, because this is going to be a little bit fuller now too. So we see, kind of hard to see, but you can see now, make sure you see my hand in through here, this little meatier meat fullness in through this region now too as well. So here, right, wedging, egg-like form, palm-like form, in through here and thick, maybe a little bit longer, like so. As we start to get that, and then coming over, and then you're going to feel this that ulna, the styloid process. We want to make sure we have that coming outward, so we see that right here, and then coming on out, and then we can get into more of that later. So what we see now is this moving this way, don't we? A little bit more curve but block here. As those tendons, see these tendons want to come down, like the palmaris longus, right, coming on down and in through there. I'll do it lightly, I won't get into craziness, but that muscle will start to come out right like that. And you'll see that now come through and have tendons underneath these fingers. They'll get buried, you won't see them quite as much. Right? So we don't really see that much of the side of the box in here, except through here where it's really shaved off. If I did that, maybe I'll show you a little bit. It might be a little anatomically awkward, but right in through here, a little extra side, since it's kind of curved, we would get that underneath perhaps. Okay. Now let's start now drawing once we've got the four fingers. Let's get to the thumb where the metacarpal would start, because we have to kind of connect this opposable part right in through, up in through here now. So what we have is we come through now, all this will end, okay, here. So this comes out of this and on up. So I'm right up in through here. So a little bit more overlapping here, right? And this egg forms kind of like a ball, where these two come together, these two kind of egg forms together. Boxy here, and egg forms together, okay? And we come out of that with the thumb a little bit in this direction. So what happens is, from the metatarsal about right here, we have to conceive of it as a box, or you conceive of it as a cylinder. I'm going to do still boxes. I think boxes are better in the long run. And I think they're actually a little bit easier. If not, then you can use cylinders. So what I'm seeing is the bottom side's a little curved. Then I'm going to come over. I'm right in through here on the condyle, ending that here. Here's the end of the side right there. See that? Okay. There to there. And now I'm going to come over. Simple 2-point, maybe 3-point box, but right there. There we go. There's that wedge there. And then we come over. Okay. There's the end, right in through there, and into the palm part. And these pollicis muscles, they're pretty hefty in mine, but that's okay. I like them anyway. Kind of right in through there. Okay, and they make a nice connection in through there for that wedging. Right on over. Make those pretty big, pretty strong. It's all right. It can be dominant. So now we have that. Remember the connectors between that material in between here. So we have that already kind of laid in for us. Maybe we could have another little wedge right in through there. And we're kind of on our way. I'll start to shave this side down in tone so you can kind of see it a little bit better. Okay, so let's finish out. Now we have our flow. You see the flow in through here. So we can take our next flow, find our distance in through here. Okay, see that. We're getting a little torque and twisting through here. So there's our length of our thumb here, a little bit wider here at this condyle knuckle and a little bit less so, and I'll just box out what I see, keeping it simple here and over. Maybe curve it because it's bones we'll get into in our next lesson in through here. Right, so we have that now. Then we can go into a little shading there, and then lastly with the distal bone or the tip of the thumb where the nail would be and partly embedded, we can curve back up, leaving the hand a little bit in this direction, going back on out, a little thinner box here. Okay, here's the top. So we're kind of triangular flying wedge. It's kind of like a Star Wars Star Destroyer, if you know what I'm talking about. And then the side here like so, and then over, and then we have our box. And then we'll put this make this a little darker here, and we have our wedged hand right in through there. Now, so we have that working for us. So now we can start the proximal, medial, and distal now of our fingers in through here. So we're right in through here. Okay, so this whole area of the palm, again, we can cut these fingers off, slice them in our mind. Obviously, don't do that at home. We don't want any Van Goghs. Don't do that at home. Don't take a butcher's knife. Cut these off. We looked at them directly at us. What that would look like would be this. We talked about that. We'd have, of course, the thumb would be over here, right? And we'd have the index, space, middle, space, third, ring finger, right? And then the pinky finger into here with a little space in the padding over there. So just keep that in mind. That's important to know. And then the tendons come right on top of that. That's important to make sure we know. I'm going to make this a little wider, right in through there. That looks a little better. It's probably a little long, but I don't care about it as a concept drawing. So what we have is we fit this in, and maybe let me try to do these as tubes. So maybe we'll change a little bit. I'll break that up. So we have the direction, and we're also curving up. So we get a little foreshortening here. Here's our gesture. We're still working pretty well. And so about to now the bone here, okay? And it's going to make a connection here. So I'm going to draw it with just the proximal, medial bone is not there right now. So we get this tube like that. Basically a drawing one problem of cylinders, right? Here. So we have that. Then we put the condyle on at the next middle phalange here, okay? And it's going to come on up and over to there. Get more foreshortening, especially in the front. And then the distal comes on top of it right here, really comes all the way over. It's almost like a sphere, like so. And then it has a little bit of length and head to it here, and then there's the tip or the end right in through there. So it almost looks like the true bone, doesn't it? And of course the metacarpal bone can go back in through here. I'm not going to draw it all through because I want to see this all together. Okay, I'll pull this over, make that a little bit meatier. And this would create a little divot in through here. You can see it in through here on a thinner person's hand. Mine are pretty thick, pretty stocky. Through here like so. Okay, so let's continue on and we'll finish this out. So the next one we have the middle finger, okay? And so I'm going to bring this in a little bit. And I'm going to make this one a box again, just for practice, so you'll see the difference and they both work. So we have that top. It's all we see. We don't see a lot of the side on this side. Coming over, curving a little bit and up. So it's curving up. It's a curved box. Okay. And we'll see most of the top here. Stretching. And then we see a little bit of the side. Now notice there's space in between. That's important, right? That space in between here is important. Okay, so we have that as a shaded tone. This is going to come down a little bit. We don't see it fully because we're going to get overlapped later by another. So I'm going to just show you that. Okay, and then we'll have the end of the bone, the box. It'll be here and downward. Okay, like that. Then we're going to come up and curve. Going to come up and curve a little bit further out than everything. About right here is where I'll end it. Right in through there. Okay. So this medial bone is going to come up and it's going to curve. We're going to just keep it as a box here and curve in on itself. More like this. Okay. So how easy that is mostly, right? And this gets a little bit more slender at the top here and then downward and over. There we go. And I'll put this in shadow and tone so you can see that. There we go. There we go. And then lastly, this bone is going to come up and more towards us and curve in a little bit. So it's going to have this. Okay, since it's a curved distal bone, more triangular, then it's going to come up. And it's going to do, the best way to show that is like this with a box, a simple box here. And then curving through and on up. And we have the distal tip of that bone now. So you can see the difference between the two ideas of the fingers. Do you want to draw a rounder cylinder, or do you want to draw a box? Either one can work for you in time. So if we could do this here, these will come in like so. Maybe put a little bit of shadow here just to show you that. Over. Just to show you that coming downward. These muscles and cartilage, ligament and tendon all working together and through here. A little bit of a divot and through there. Okay, now the third or ring finger, a little bit lower set in inside, closer to the palm area. And I'll get a little bit of the divot for the tendon, like so. Okay, so we're going to have it set in a little bit further here. Okay, right like that. Okay, and then it's going to come in. It's going to overlap now the others that we just drew, the middle finger a little bit, because of the way it's holding. So we have that here, and we're going to stay true to our length and our angle here. Okay, and then over through here. Now we can find our side. It's curved in the box like so. There it is through here. Okay. Now we're going to continue to come up because they almost touch really the tips of these two fingers. So we're going to come up and curve. It's almost the same gesture, but it's overlapped in terms of distance, about right in through there. Then we're going to cut that off. Stay with me, that box here. I'll draw a little bit darker in a moment. And then we have the end to end here, and here's the side right in through there. So let me draw that a little darker so you can see that here. Okay, so I curve this a little bit so you can see that here. In. Okay, side of that. And then connecting there, that connection to that box. And that'll put this on in front of the middle finger, which we want. We see that there. All right, so now to finish it out, I'll just continue going on into darker one here. So we have the next bone coming up, distal, all the way up and through. Let's make a box out of it, almost touching the other in front there. So we have that. Here's its side, up and through, and its ending point here, and we see a little point there. Here we go. So we see that, and then we'll come down here and over, and a little bit thicker right in through there. So we start to see that now in front of them. We put a little tone on that so you can see that coming through and coming through. You can see in the diagram where they're really kind of touching together, kind of grabbing something. And then lastly, the pinky finger now will be challenging because it'll overlap in through here, almost both of them. But right in through here, I'm going to lock in my view. Right in through here, we'll see the top of the distal bone, the gesture I'm thinking, and it's curving. See how it curves back and gives us this rhythm back into the hand. So we'd probably even see a little bit more of the side now. Like right in through. We can adjust our viewpoint a little bit. And show you that, and this could come up like so, and back over, and in like that. There we go. So let's work on that. So let's work on the last finger here. Little space between. We've got our space. Make sure we lock that in space, and then space between here. It's important. See that coming through. Feel that condyle, and then feel that space between. These are in a way kind of like this: downward, 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 and then back up and over, downward and in, and a little back over too, as well. All right. So now the proximal condyle here, a little tilted this way in, coming back into the hand a little bit, to the major part of the hand, excuse me. And then we'll come in with our spatial distance here, length in perspective. Here's our sides, a little twisting. We have this, okay, and this. So we're in perspective. There's some space in between, which we want. Through here, okay, here's our side here, and down. Connect those with a little bit of shading, and then we're coming with our distal. Now our distal is starting to get twisted and coming up to here, right? We want to get to there. So here's the end of our medial box that's got torqued and twisted kind of like a ribbon in through there, like this. So here's our side being torqued and twisted up. Okay. Let me make that clear for you. Here to here. And see how we take this side and it's going to get twisted like so. And there's our ending of our side right in through. And then finally the distal bone, we have to block it off. Thinking inside of it there, and then overlapping here so it comes up, through and over, and then it gets a little bit wider. Here would be the side ending, and then the tip squared off would be right there. There we go. And there's the break of the two bones. Here we go. So now if we sit back and look and see what we've got, we're starting to understand now the idea of wedging with the hand. All the bones of the hand and the muscles, everything together as we put it together a little bit further into there. So let's take a look, step back now, and look at the two together, two distinctly different views together. And so we've got a nice hand wedging situation that you can start to work from. So when you get stuck or you get lost about what you're doing, think of them as simple wedges in space, rectangular forms in space to control their scale, proportion, and probably most appealing to you would be their sense of spatial perspective, because we're using perspective throughout here. Intuitively, of course. We're not throwing out convergence lines and using rulers and T-skirts, but we still know where we're at. We want to know where we're at spatially. This is how to do that. And then we'll connect in our next lessons. If you're doing anatomy with me, you're going to be looking at the bones and then of course the ending frontier of the muscles as well. All right, so there you go. That's hand wedging. And next we'll go on to, again, like I said, bones and end with muscles, and you'll have it. Okay, hang in there. Hands are not as bad as you think. They're not as bad. They're not meant to be feared. They're meant to be conquered. Be fearless, practice, and conquer it. Okay? All right. I'll see you. Take care. Bye-bye.